For some reason it's fuzzy. It's fuzzy. No audio. It's not clear.
Okay. I went into the service in 43. And as a lot of you know, when you were drafted, you got a letter from Uncle Sam that stated something like, your friends and neighbors have chosen you for the armed forces of the United States. And I ain't talked to my damn neighbors since. That's a fact. Well, I went in 1943. Had the basic training out in Camp Hoover, Oklahoma. After basic training, we went to Camp Hook, Louisiana for maneuvers. After that, we went back up to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And the outfit that I was in was, like I said, was a 285th Field Artillery Observation Battalion. We had no guns. We were just strictly an observation battalion. What we did, we set up flash and sound OPs to observe enemy gunfire. After basic training from Fort Sill, we went to Camp Schenck, New York. Got on a ship which was called the Mormac Moon. And we went across the waters. We came into Carter, Wales. The next morning, I went up on top deck to see what it looked like. And as far as you could see everywhere, there were ships. We got into Carter, Wales. From there, then we went into England. And we were in England for a few weeks. Then we crossed the English Channel on LSTs, where we went up on the beach with Omaha Beach. We went over a long time after D-Day. We had quite a ways to go till we got up to the front to set up our operation. And by the way, the only guns we had was a 30 caliber carbine that we had for protection. Well, after we got up to where we were supposed to set up our observation post, December the 16th is when this battle of Bulge started. We got word on the 16th that we were supposed to move up. We were supposed to go to a place called St. Vitt, which we never got there. On the way, around noontime, on the 17th, we stopped along the road for lunch. After we had lunch, we boarded up, started off, and by the way, there were 3 guys in the outfit that was from Reinhold, Stevens, and the names were Schwartz, Steffi, Beckel. They all knew each other before they went in. Now, one of the guys in B Battery and the 285th were all people from local areas. People asked us already, how come there's so many guys in the same outfit from the areas around here? We had no idea. Uncle Sam had that to do with it. Are people in the back there able to hear me yet?
No.
Huh? No.
Yeah, you're good.
Not very well. It's fuzzy.
You still hear me? Okay. So, on the way, getting ready to go.
Much better.
Load up. Boy, now.
Yeah. Thank you.
I didn't think it was sounding good because, all right. Now after we had lunch that day,
got ready to leave, this one guy from Stevens or Reynolds, Schwartz, he said to Ernie Beckel, he said, Ernie, he said, something terrible is going to happen to us today. Ernie said to him, what the hell are you talking about? He said, don't talk so dumb. He says, I'm telling you, Ernie, something terrible is going to happen to us today. And that statement is in that book there. That's a good book about the fatal crossroads where this happened. So, we boarded up, started off, and about 1 o'clock that afternoon, we come into Malmedy, Belgium, at this crossroad where 5 roads came together. Before we got to the crossroads, there was a 291st Engineer Battalion. They already heard about the Germans making their breakthrough, and Colonel Pegram had the trees on both sides of the road lined up with TNT, and in case the Germans would have came down that day, they'd have blown all them trees and they wouldn't have got in there, got down through. Well, this German column was coming up from our left, this Panzer Division, and they saw our vehicles that were already through the crossroads. They were shooting them up, blowing them off the road. Of course, I was in one of the last vehicles that day. Just got to the crossroads, and of course everything stopped. Then the Germans came back, got all us guys, walked us up the road to the field and put us in this field alongside the road. We were all standing there, approximately 150 of us, and here comes this German officer up in a command car. He parked out in front of us, he pulled his pistol out, and he shot one guy on the right side of me. Then he shot another guy on the left side of me. In the meantime, this tank that stopped out in front of us, they set up 2 machine guns. And after this officer shot these 2 guys, he yelled something to them. Then they opened up fire, point blank, into the field where we were all standing. Raked back and forth through the field trying to kill everybody because they were told they had no time to take prisoners. The Germans that was walking around, they asked the officer about what we should do. The officer said, whoop, whoop, shoot him, kill him. Well, that's what they did. I went down, face down, played dead for the rest of the afternoon. But after the machine guns stopped firing at us, then they walked through the field, and everybody that showed signs of life, they point blank shoot them through the head to finish them off. I knew what they were doing. I was laying there, I had my helmet well over my head, and hoping that I could survive all this and get back to tell people what happened. But there was quite a few that did manage to get up and take off that day. There was a medic alongside of me bandaging a guy up. And after he had him bandaged up, he point blank shot him through the head to finish him off. After a long time laying there, there was a guy, when I'm telling this, I can still hear him say this. It was Jim Matura from Marietta. He says, come on guys, let's get out of here. So all those that were able to get up, started running back down towards the way we were originally coming from. But at this crossroads, there was a house and a cafe. A lot of us ran into this house cafe, thought we'd hide in there. I went inside the door too, and stood there. And as soon as I got inside that door, I said to myself, well, that tank sitting up there sure saw us go in there. Somebody could have come down and get us. Well, I turned around, went back out across the road, down along the hedge road to keep out of line of fire from that tank. If he was going to shoot at us with the machine guns, which he did, he tried to shoot at us as the guys were running. I looked down the ground once and I saw the dirt kicking up close to me. That's how close it come to get me. But then what the Germans did, they went down to this house, they poured gasoline around the house, they set fire to it. And as the people and all the guys came out of there, they shot him. I can still see this one guy on the left side of me running. His chin was hanging down. He was shot through the chin. He made it back, and he also made it back to the state. But out of that 150 that was in the field, there was 87 killed. The people in Malmedy there, they put up a stone wall. And on that stone wall, they have the 87 names of the guys who were all killed there. I used to correspond with a lady that lived right close there, that helped take care of this place where this happened. And in her letter, she said about the 87 names on there. And I read stories about someone said about 85, 86, but I don't know where they got it, but it doesn't really bother me about that. But I know on the wall she said there's 87, and in that book there they have about 87 names. As we were running back, guys from the 30th Infantry Division and the 291st Engineer, they were picking up the guys and taking them back to first aid station. I got back around dark, get in there, and of course when we all got in there, they had more news guys in there interviewing everybody, and all the guys told the same story about what went on up there at the crossroads. While I was laying there, something stung me in the foot, and I thought, well, I got hit with something. I didn't dare look. When I got to that first aid station, they asked me if I was hit. I said, I think I was hit in the foot. So I had goulashes on. I took the goulash off, and I heard something rolling around, rattling, and I turned it upside down, and a little slug fell out. That's as far as it went. It went through the goulash, it didn't go through my shoe sole. And Harold Billow, he was the one that interviewed me there at the first aid station. And I gave him the slug like a dummy. I should have kept it for a souvenir, but it's too late now. I have a lot of pictures. I got 5 boxes of pictures of a lot of this that happened. This is the field where I was in. That was after everybody was shot, and that evening and the next day it snowed, and it covered all those bodies up. They had, at that time, the worst winter ever over there. They didn't discover them bodies till a couple months after. That shows about that officer coming up, taking 2 shots, one on each side on me, before the machine gun started. all look at them. And this is where they were sweeping the snow off of them. And the way they located them, they went through the field with mine detectors. They picked up the body and swept the snow off of them. Picked them up, threw them up on a truck and took them back to a building and which was heated, and they closed them. And the guy that wrote a book about the 285th, he has in that book how each guy was shot, how many shots was in him, whether it was small fire shots, shrapnel or whatever. My daughter-in-law and father, after this all happened, they had all these German officers in jail cells. And my daughter-in-law's father's at this jail cell where Goebel and Hess was in. This other one here, picture is one time down to VFW in Millersville. The Luxembourg ambassador came up to our meeting, and he had his picture taken with everybody who was at that meeting that day. A few years ago, the people of Belgium put up a museum, a memorial about the massacre at Malmedy. This guy here in a tan coat, he just passed away on August the 8th. He was over to that. I didn't get to go along, and I was in the massacre winter. And every December the 17th, they have a memorial service at this place. There's a picture of what I do in my front yard. Memorial Day and Veterans Day. I put those 87 flags in my front yard, and they're all lined up. No matter which way you look at them, they're in a straight row. Did I miss anything, Larry?
What happened to Swartz? Fellow citizens, what happened to him?
Swartz, Steffi, those two are still over there in one of the cemeteries. They both got it. Yeah. I brought these two pictures along just to show you. These were taken in 1943. This is Ted Paluch from Philadelphia and me. See how damn good looking we were back in the day? They were taken at Camp Gruber, Oklahoma in 1943 when we first went in for training, our boot training. Yeah, I wrote that last long. At the Reading Air Show that I was at a couple of times, there was a Polish guy over there, Severin Fairman. Him and his whole family survived all the concentration camps over there. I met him twice at the Reading Air Show, and I heard him tell his story of how they all survived the concentration camps. I told him, I heard him talk twice, but I said if I get to know that he's talking again, why, I'd be there to hear him talk. But He passed away about a year or so ago. And also, I've been going around with a group to schools, clubs, all over Lancaster County. I was over to Eisenhower Museum in Gettysburg one time, years ago, and on the way home, the guy that took me over, I said to him, I said, I'm not that hungry, but I said, we ought to stop someplace to get something to eat. So we went along a little while. After a while, he pulled in. It was Hooters Club. It was a nice place and decent place. And the girls all liked somebody in uniform. In uniform. Then, sometime later on, the guy that took me over, he said, we ought to go over there again. So, my birthday was, they took me over one evening for a meal and met the whole bunch over there, the girls. I hated that. They all treated me nice. They tied balloons on the table and around me and everything. I had to stop and see that the second time. A buddy from Lidditz, after the war was over, he felt sorry for me because after the war was over, they were able to go in anybody's house or that and take and steal anything they wanted. He got this, and when I got home, he said he felt sorry for me. So he gave me this, and he also gave me a big German flag. I'll show you that in a couple minutes. But also, I have an article that some guy wrote. He says that that massacre never happened. And in that article, he says, you tell that Mary and Billow that I was up there and that never happened. And I tell people what happened. I said, if he walked by me right now, that would go through him. And it wouldn't faze me one bit. I had a friend that just saw me some weeks ago. He was over in Belgium, and he went to the place where all this happened, and he took quite a few pictures. But it's all built up, looks real nice. And this, he got this ball of ground from the field where this massacre took place. I'm real proud of that. Well, I think that gives you the picture of what happened.
How long did you lay in the field after
After they started, we laid there in that field till dark, almost dark, until that guy, Jim Mateer, says, come on guys, let's get out of here. And all those that were able to got up and headed back down toward the way we were originally coming from. But after we stopped there at the crossroad, and Colonel Peggerman of the 291st Engineers, he told Larry, Lieutenant Larry, he said, I advise you not to go that route. Because it says about the Germans going that way. Larry said, well, that's my orders to go that way. And we went, and we didn't get too far until this happened.
I was in a Band of Brothers tour last year. I toured Europe, and I was in Bastogne. And I was right in Center City, Bastogne. How far away from Center City, Bastogne was Malmedy? as far as distance?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. No. Oh, I just thought, a guy from Mount Joy that was in a tank outfit, that he went up on D-Day, and on D-Day, he looked down on the beach and he saw this newspaper. He picked it up, and it was a Mount Joy Bulletin issue, an issue of the Mount Joy Bulletin. He said everybody around him read that paper at that time. And then this one time in Luxembourg, where we were staying, we had a chance to go in this factory to see a movie. And after the movie was over, the stars going out, and this guy grabbed me by the arm and kind of spun me around and said, "Hey, aren't you from Mount Joy?" I looked down and I said, "Yeah, Miles Robinson. He only lived a quarter of a mile out the same street from me in town." Somebody said, "Well, did you talk with him much?" I said, "That's the only thing we said." He got out because he had his tank parked out in front of the factory, and he got out and got in his tank, and that was the end of it. That's all I saw of him. We both got home, and after we got home, discharged, we'd seen each other quite often. But he only lived right out the same street from me before we went into the service. Yeah.
Then it said something horrible is going to happen.
Yeah.
Did he survive?
No. No. The guy said that something terrible going to happen. Him and his buddy, or both at Steppe, were both over there. They both got it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 78 or 87 out of that bunch got killed. A lot of them are still over there in a couple cemeteries. I have pictures of cemeteries where they're all in, but I didn't bring out all. This book here, Fatal Crossroads, you ever want to read a good book about that? That is a real good one to read. How about it, Larry? That is excellent, boy. And my picture's in that book too. Schwartz, I think Schwartz is, no, I believe Schwartz or Steppe's in there. I'm not sure. No, they're not in there. No, but my picture's in there. A whole lot of them are in there. That is a real good book to read.
Harold, did you have to testify after?
No, I didn't get to go over to the war trials, but some of the guys did. They got to go over to them, but I didn't get picked to go over. No.
What was the result of the war trials?
Well, most of them guys, they got sentenced, but then that rotten senator or politician from Washington, what was his name, McCarthy? He let them all off, except Hess. A number of years ago, they found Hess someplace in France, and Piper, yeah. Yeah, he was, yeah. They found him, got rid of him, but they should have, shame they didn't get rid of him long years before. This isn't B battery.
No, that's A. You know, I wasn't sure if A and B were together or not.
No. Because I'm just looking.
Yeah.
When you gave it to me, I was down here in the left-hand corner. No, this.
I thought they had A and B together on that picture.
Each picture, I have all three pictures. I have headquarters, I have A battery and B battery like it. But No,
Yeah, that's probably A-Bat.
yeah, I don't know what this one is.
Yeah, it's the 285th Tank Cruiser.
It's- That was at the picture was taken at Fort Sill, but
Yeah,
this is it, either air headquarters.
yeah.
Yep.
I wasn't sure if you were on that one.
No, I'm not on that one. You wanna help me here, Larry? Or you want to go out here and go over it? Stretch it out. How I got this, there's a few Germans standing in front of a building. I had a hand grenade. I tossed a hand grenade right at them. Luckily, wiped them all out. And I reached up and pulled the flag off the building. That's how I got it. But that's a lie. My buddy from Livis, like I told you, he felt sorry for me and he gave me that dagger, he gave me this. And this flag also, you see how big it is. When I got it, I kept it in mothballs all because it wasn't it. And I told my wife one time, I said, you know what, that's big enough to use as a bedspread. That went over like a lead balloon. I forgot to tell you, I married an English girl. She passed away in 08. But where she lived outside the city of Manchester, her place was bombed. The block beyond her was bombed. The buzz bombs never touched the area where she lived. She was lucky. Yeah, when I told my wife this, I said we could use that for bedspread again. You know, England was bombed all the time, and she managed to survive.
Harold,
Yeah.
Harold, you met her during the war?
Yeah, after the war was over, I got sent back to England to the 8th Air Force. Can you all hear me yet? Without me?
Very well, very well.
Okay. I was sent back to the 8th Air Force. And all we did while I was in the 8th Air Force, we went out to the hangars every morning. We were in groups. And like I said, the war was over. Planes would come in, come up the runway, park, and a whole crew would get on these planes. And they tear them apart, bust everything up, smash everything. There were piles of plane parts out in the field, high as this building here. And I asked one time why they did it. They said they didn't want anybody to get any parts or use any of the parts from the plane. But that's all we did. And the sergeant in charge of my group, he got tired of us standing around and waiting, because you know you had to have, the more points you got, the quicker you were sent home. He says, you guys want to take off and go back to the barracks, go into town, go ahead. So a lot of us did. We had to go through a big hole in the fence that was around the hangar that was cut through. We went through the hole in the fence, went back to the barracks, changed clothes, went into town for the rest of the night. In the city of Manchester, that's where I met my wife. And this is a coincidence. After seeing her for quite a while, I got married over there. December the 17th, 1945. After the wedding ceremony was over, her mom says to me, you know, Harold, she says, you was captured by the Germans December 17th, 1944, and December 17th, 1945, you were captured by the Limeys. It never dawned on me until she said that. Yeah. I think I pretty well covered, gave you the real story of what happened. There was other little things in between and before.
Harold, I have to ask, did you come back together with her, or did she come back on a transport?
No, I came back before she did. And then she came back, I came back in January, and she came, I think it was in April or May. And I was lucky, Uncle Sam paid for all that.
Yeah.
Paid for all the wedding stuff and everything.
Good for you.
Yeah. She passed away, we were married 65 years. Now, days, you see in the paper, people aren't together but a couple of years. And I had a guy that I used to work with. I ain't going to tell you what character I wasn't or anything like that. He says, yeah, your wife should have had a big medal putting up with you for 65 years.
Harold,
Yes.
did you suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder?
Yeah.
And how did you come to terms with that? Or
Well,
do you still suffer today as many
I
others do?
have nightmares. I think about it all the time. And like I said, when I'm telling you this story every time I go anywhere, I can see it as if it's happening right now. I can see that Germans coming up here from our left, and us guys getting walked up the road and put us in the field. It gets to me. And what I do is I'll go downstairs any hour of the night or morning and get a cup of coffee or a piece of toast and stay down in there, and I'll go back up to bed again. Yeah, something never forget. I think about it often. December 17th is soon coming up again now. It's someday to remember. Yeah, never forget it.
You said some guy you had played dead with. What about some of the other guys? Were they able? They ran. I think I read a book or something. There was a wood line somewhere, and they made it to the wood line.
Yeah. They managed, but they
went after it too, I think.
Yep. Some of the guys didn't. Some wood tile close to this barn or a house, and Germans got back around there and they got them. Yeah, most of them guys that was able to take off and run back why some of them badly wounded. Like I said, that one guy, I could see him over to my left. Everybody was on their own. They didn't help each other. We were all going back the same direction. And that guy's kitchen taken down. He did manage to get back. He lived in Michigan. But most of the guys in the 285th were all from local areas here. People can't understand why. We all, like I said, we all knew each other. And after we got in basic training out of Camp Kruger, we got to know each other, found out how close we lived to each other at home.
Can I ask another question? Can you explain again what the job of the 285th was and why you weren't armed or didn't have armed people with you?
Yeah, we were an observation battalion. All we did was set up instruments to observe the enemy gunfire. At night, our instruments, our flash instruments, could pick up the flash from a German gun and also the sound. And then they would record, compute that. Back in them days, you didn't have computers like you do now. They had to figure it out, pencil, and they give the coordinates back to our gun batteries, and then our gun batteries would return the fire. But yet, all we were armed with was a 30 caliber carbine, and that was nothing to shoot at a tank. And then all that German division that was coming up from our left, that was all tanks of all kinds of armored vehicles. that was the worst barbaric outfit there was. They had no time for any. If they went through a place, they burned it down, everybody, they killed everybody. I have stories of that. They went through and anybody, men, women, children, mowed them down, burnt the whole town down. When they got to the other end, everything was in wreckage. Yeah.
I think there was an African-American observation group called License 11. They captured 11 of them, and I think they killed them.
Yeah.
Cut their fingers off and broke their
Yeah, they were barbaric.
Piper, he was an adjunct to, or assistant to Himmler.
Yeah. Yeah,
He could tell you where his mindset was.
he's the one that was in that command car that pulled up in front of us.
Harold, did any of the guys have the knowledge of Pennsylvania Dutch? And if they did, was that useful at any time?
Sketch from Littis, he knew Pennsylvania Dutch, and he knew what they were talking about.
That's
Yeah, and Bethel too, and I imagine Schwartz and the stuff he knew some of it, but Sketch, he was well versed on it. He knew what they were talking about. Yeah, and Sketch, he was our main cook in the service from the time we went in till this all happened. And one time when we were staying in this factory in Limmersdorf, the guys were complaining about we didn't have any fresh meat. So he says, well, go out, there's all kinds of farm animals running around. Well, the farmers, they didn't appreciate that. They went out and I forget what they got and dug in. And in this factory there was an elevator, and they strung the whole animal up in the elevator shaft and skinned it and butchered it, everything. All the stuff went down the elevator shaft. We had fresh meat for a couple of weeks.
Did you ever go back to visit?
No, I never got back. The outfit headquarters in A Battery and the few B Battery guys that left, they went back on tours twice. But back in them days, the old man didn't have his money, and I wish I had borrowed the money at that time and went back, but no. But the first time they went back, it was in pretty bad shape yet, and this second time they went back, they said you would hardly know the place, because everything was built up, all new buildings and everything.
You showed the one picture of the car and the guy standing up with his pistol. Who took that picture, and how was it published later?
Artist conception.
Ah,
Yeah,
thank you.
but that picture, that was showing the real thing. That's the way that guy came up and stopped out in front of us that day.
Wow. What do you want to say? Wow. If there's no more questions, I'm a member of the Memorial Committee that sponsors this with the Ephrata Library. Thank you so much for coming. I must say that this is easily 3 times the normal crowd that we had, and that speaks to Harold. My mother went across there in December of '44 to Belgium in a medical unit in the SS Henry Gibbons.
Yeah.
And then doing research afterwards, I'm looking for the Henry Gibbons to see how she got home, which she didn't use it, but it was full of war brides. And about 2/3 of them had babies in their arms. Coming home to look for their GIs.
I have a picture of
No reference there, brother.
No. I have a picture in my den of my wife and a whole bunch of war brides on there on the Queen Mary.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And there's only one on there that had a little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. We all come here for the same reason, Harold, and that's to remember what happened,
Yeah.
so we can continue. And meeting people like you is just unbelievable. The vigor that you have to still tell this story.
Yeah.
And thank God that you came through it, and you've done all of us a favor by being able to get to this stage of your life and still tell us about what happened. Larry, I have to give you kudos too. Your dedication to veterans issues, the books you have written, the people you have interviewed, that gives gives us material to hold on to give to our children and grandchildren. It's the best. It really is the best.
I
wasn't like to shave my mustache. So anyway, not to hold you up, but just for next month,